Southern California, good afternoon, and welcome to another edition of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. Today we have ourselves quite a show, as we have a lot to get to in the world of Southern California sports, such as the Lakers taking down the Clippers in amazing comeback fashion. How did the purple and gold do it, and what happened to the Clippers? Also, the Lakers beat the Washington Lizards, but it was a little more than it needed to be. Also, USC men's hoops beating UCLA on the road. Did they beat the Washington school that they were supposed to? And did UCLA get back against the Washington school that they faced in terms of this week? Also, LAFC kicks off their season with a win, but the Galaxy tied with Inter Miami, which could have been avoided, but hey, what can you do? You're facing Lionel Messi. Also, CBU women's hoops pulls off a dramatic victory over Stephan F. Austin. Are they still en route to winning the regular season WAC on the women's side of things? Also, spring training is still underway between the Padres, Dodgers, and Angels. We'll check in on how they're doing and a lot more here on the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. This is Teran Rodriguez bringing you another edition of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. And welcome one, welcome all to another edition of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. Thank you for tuning in on this beautiful Monday morning, Monday afternoon, Monday evening, Monday wherever you are listening from. Either way, you have made your way to episode 170 of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. And without any further delay, let's begin. But first and foremost, the SoCal Supreme Sports Show would not be where it's at without IE Sports Radio providing the platform to go live on Spreaker. Please do follow IE Sports Radio on several different social media platforms such as X, formerly known as Twitter, TikTok, and on Instagram at IE Sports Radio. We also have a Facebook page. All you just have to do is type in the word IE, then sports, then radio in the search bar, like us, and then that's how you're able to follow us on Facebook. And we have a website, iesportsradio.com, for all of your latest sports news, our blog, our Hall of Fame, our Fans of the Month, our page dedicated to each podcast, such as the SoCal Supreme Sports Show, our community forum, and our merchandise shop. For the last 9 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. Thank you to everyone for all of your support and for making IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that sports. A huge shout to our sponsors, Plant Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Plant Jerky is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm, the single-A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. This all-brisket jerky has gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, it's low in sugar, and high in protein. This is some of the best jerky you can get your hands on, and all you have to do is visit www.planetjerky.net and place your order. In addition, Plant Jerky on its website has some of its prices slashed on its jerky, so get them while they're still cheap and available. And if you buy an order's worth of $50 or more, you get the shipping for free. Once again, a huge shout to our sponsor, Plant Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet. Our second sponsor is Seal the Deal Wax Seals by Cecilia B. You just finished your very own wedding or baby shower invitations, and you're looking for that extra special touch. Maybe you just wrote a letter to a relative or friend and you want to add their smile when they receive it. If that's the case, then seal the deal with Cecilia's handmade sealing wax stamps for your invitations, letters, and gifts is what is best for you. You bring the deal, and we'll bring the seal. Follow them on Instagram at @sealthedeal_wax stamps. Huge shout to that second sponsor, Seal the Deal Wax Seals by Cecilia B. And the way you can follow the SoCal Supreme Sports Show on social media is on X, formerly known as Twitter, at SoCal Show IESR. And you can follow me, Teran Rodriguez, on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Teran Rodriguez 1. Alright, let us begin. So, we don't have a whole lot of NFL news, nothing regarding USC or UCLA, other than like the Combine, but I haven't really been paying attention to that, just because I'm not really a big draft Combine guy. I mean, if someone makes the news for something big or anything like that, then so be it, but it's nothing that I will glue my eyes to, unfortunately. I'm just not a draft Combine-y guy, but once the draft is ready to go, then that's when I'm locked in. I mean, I guess I could go over some Chargers mock drafts, but honestly, I've kind of been doing that the last few weeks with the Rams and the Chargers, just because, well, for starters, basically, the draft isn't for another month, and yeah, we don't want to get ahead of ourselves in regards to everything. So, the Chargers did release their mock draft 4.0, which I guess I can go over. I'm not really a big draft type of guy, but again, I'm set on the Chargers selecting Brock Bowers or Malik Neighbors. Alright, so according to Mel Kiper of ESPN, he has the Chargers selecting J.C. Latham of Alabama. Now, he's an offensive tackle, and I think that's good just to shore up the offensive line and to get Justin Herbert more protection. And also, the big concern for the Chargers is that their center, Corey Linsley, just retired due to health complications. So I wouldn't mind seeing the Chargers draft an offensive lineman. I think that is pretty good. And then Bucky Brooks of NFL.com. Mel Kiper Jr. is from ESPN. Bucky Brooks of NFL.com has the Chargers selecting Joe Alt of Notre Dame. Another offensive tackle, which I definitely think is smart. Again, keep Justin Herbert protected as much as he can, and he is a standout blocker, and he has toughness and physicality to a front line that needs to basically be shored up to keep their quarterback healthy as possible. Then Kyle Stackpole of CBS Sports has the Chargers drafting Malik Neighbors, and it's long story short, it says Justin Herbert gets another playmaker in Malik Neighbors. Now, he was the best wide receiver in NCAA football this past season, which obviously everyone has their debate and whatnot. Everyone has their opinion, but from what I've been hearing, he was the best of the bunch. And honestly, the Chargers are going to be faced with big decisions in terms of possibly trading or releasing players, as the Chargers have many cap hits, as they have players like Khalil Mack, Joey Bosa having a cap hit, Keenan Allen, Mike Williams having a cap hit, and Justin Herbert's newly signed contract isn't even kicked in. And then they're still also paying the J.C. Jackson contract, or they're eating up most of the J.C. Jackson contract. So the Chargers have a lot of decisions on their hands regarding Mike Williams and Keenan Allen. I'm certain they're going to keep Keenan Allen, but I'm not so sure about Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack. Those are the big question marks. I'd hate for the Chargers to let go of Khalil Mack after he had such a great season, but honestly, the cap space has to go down. Like this, their cap space is ridiculous. And I did see like a YouTube video of a Raiders fan, a truly honest Raiders fan, saying that the Chargers aren't that good. I mean, he says they'll be good in about 5 years, but for the next 3 years, he says they're not going to be as good, and if they'll be lucky to probably get out of the first round, which I totally understand him, and I totally don't argue with him. I will just say, at least getting Jim Harbaugh, they'll be better in terms of number of wins. Like, they'll definitely improve on that 5-12 record. That's for sure. They're certainly not going to have that issue anymore. And I don't think lightning's going to strike twice with Justin Herbert having season-ending injuries. So there you have it right there. Back to the mock draft. So Kyle Stackpole has the Chargers selecting Malik Neighbors. The Athletic College Football, which is the Athletic, so it's just one big organization. They just have the Chargers selecting Brock Bowers, which is who I have the Chargers selecting. Excuse me for 1 second. Sorry, I just sneezed. So, yeah, this is basically what the Chargers kind of need, and I feel Gerald Everett is a free agent because they signed him back into the year where the Chargers missed the playoffs and they needed a better tight end than Donald Parham. Nothing against Donald Parham, but he's just not the it guy. He's not like a top 5 tight end. He's not like a Travis Kelce or a George Kittle or a Rob Gronkowski. So there you have it right there. I definitely am still on the Brock Bowers hype train. Anyone that wants to argue with me, do so at your own risk. And then Charles McDonald and Nate Tice of Yahoo Sports have the Chargers selecting Olu Fashanu of Penn State. Another offensive tackle, which I think is definitely smart. I think definitely they can't go wrong with offensive linemen. They could also go tight end just because Gerald Everett doesn't really cut it. And again, Donald Parham is just an end zone target, not a target who will run routes. And then Daniel Jeremiah of NFL.com has the Chargers selecting Joe Alt of Notre Dame. And then Tom Fornelli of CBS Sports has the Chargers selecting Joe Alt of Notre Dame. And then Michael Middlehurst Schwartz of USA Today has the Chargers selecting Brock Bowers. The Athletic NFL staff has the Chargers selecting Malik Neighbors. And Chris Trespasso of CBS Sports has the Chargers selecting Brock Bowers. Gennaro Felice of NFL.com has the Chargers selecting Brock Bowers. Connor Livesay of the 33rd team has the Chargers selecting Joe Alt. Eric Froton of NBC Sports has the Chargers selecting Joe Alt. It's basically just everyone saying the exact same thing. It's either Joe Alt, Olu Fashanu, Brock Bowers. The only Malik Neighbors one was from the athletic staff, which, again, I totally get that. You want to get... and Kyle Stackpole. But all in all, the Chargers can't go wrong with whoever they select. Ralph Clays pops in the chat room. He says, "Good afternoon, Teran. Have a great show." Thank you, Ralph. I appreciate that. Definitely check out the Yinzer Report with Ralph Clays on Tuesday at 2 p.m. Pacific Time, 5 p.m. Eastern. All right. So that's going to do it for the Chargers. There were no new mock drafts with the Rams, so let's just move on from the football side of things, and let's move on to college basketball, because there's actually a lot of college basketball to go over. So let's start off with USC and UCLA. All right, let's rip the Band-Aid off of this one. Oh my gosh. I couldn't believe this when I saw this, but USC men's basketball defeated UCLA at Pauley Pavilion 62-56. Remember when UCLA had one of the longest winning streaks in the nation, if not the longest winning streak in the nation, at 29 games in a row? Well, CSUN kind of broke that and then some. And then Maryland kind of poured tear gas onto that flame. And now USC is beating UCLA. And we can't forget Utah's game-winning tip-in against UCLA. And then we also have USC beating UCLA at Pauley Pavilion. So yeah, it was 34-34 between the two teams, and then USC just added that extra touch as Boogie Ellis led the Trojans with 24 points. Isaiah Collier had 11 points, and then Kobe Johnson had 10 points. UCLA had a little bit more variety in them as Adam Bona led the way with 14 points. Sebastian Mack added 12 points. Lazar Stefanovic had 10 points, and then off the bench, Ade Mara had 10 points. So, yeah, I don't know how UCLA lost, but this is unacceptable. UCLA hit 33% from the field, and they only made 4 threes. 4 threes. That's when you know UCLA was destined to lose. USC, on the other hand, they hit 44% from the field, and they also hit 44% from three-point range, as they actually went 8 for 18 from downtown. So USC had double the three-pointers than UCLA. Big ouch. And here's what irks me about UCLA losing this one. USC went 10 for 20 from the charity stripe. 10 for 20. That's 50%. USC couldn't buy their free throws. Meanwhile, UCLA made went to the charity stripe 18 times and made 16 of them. So, and they out-rebounded USC. And UCLA only had one more turnover than USC. So, I just don't get it. UCLA only led by as many as 2, while UCLA only led by as many as 2, while USC led by as many as 14. What's wrong with this picture? What's wrong with it? UCLA is fighting for its tournament life. And they're also fighting for a first-round bye in the Pac-12 tournament. Because at this point, it's pretty much you have to win the Pac-12 tournament or no tournament for you. No Super Shoe. It gets worse for UCLA. Yesterday, they wound up losing to Washington 94-77. Now, Washington isn't really a bad team, but if I recall correctly, UCLA beat Washington the first time around. Yeah, they beat Washington the first time around. So you mean to tell me UCLA got spanked again? Golly, by 17 points, mind you. I get it, it was on the road, but UCLA was so bad, they allowed Washington's Keon Brooks to go off for 32 points. 32 points. That does not scream NCAA tournament team. Also, Braxton Mia had 19 points, and Moses Wood added 18 points. They made Washington look pretty elite, if you ask me. Which, that's unacceptable. That is unacceptable by terms of UCLA standards. Like, there's no way UCLA will get in as an at-large. Like, they're barely hovering above 500, or they are 500. Like, even Utah has a better record than them. And if the Pac-12 conference started today, UCLA would have to play in the first round. They are a game behind Colorado, and we could officially rule UCLA out for winning the Pac-12, as their next matchup is against Washington State, which, that's going to be fun if you ask me. Now, Washington State does have some aspirations in terms of winning the Pac-12 conference regular season championship, because if Washington State does win, then they draw even with Arizona. However, Washington State beat Arizona twice this season. So, Washington State could, hence the word could, possibly surpass Arizona. But then again, Arizona has 3 more matches remaining, while Washington State, after that UCLA match, will only have 2. And Arizona plays Oregon, which is not a guaranteed matchup. So, this is a huge matchup for Washington State and for UCLA, as well as Oregon and Arizona. So, I'm just going to say this for UCLA. If they want to have any shot of a first-round bye, they have to win. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it, just because they do have the tiebreaker over Colorado, because they beat Colorado twice, if I'm not mistaken, if not the only time. It should have been twice, just because didn't they play Utah twice, which they got stomped on in? Anyway, so yeah. Regardless, UCLA needs to get some W's. Like, they need to start winning ASAP, and they only have a few more chances to do so. Otherwise, they are going to be up a creek without a paddle in terms of the Pac-12 tournament. But it is what it is. They kind of made their own bed, and now they're going to have to sleep in it. I could have sworn UCLA played... Okay, I guess they only played Utah twice and not Colorado twice. But they have the tiebreaker over Colorado. So, yeah, they have the tiebreaker over Colorado. That's all that needs to be said regarding UCLA versus Colorado. And they still have a chance for a first-round bye. It's just crazy that UCLA is still in this position. So, we'll see what happens with the Bruins. But for right now, that at best they need to get at least a bye, because the Pac-12 tournament is going to be so brutal, and they need all the rest they can get. And their last 2 games are against Arizona and Arizona State. Now, Arizona obviously is the juggernaut, while Arizona State is basically, they're scrappy to say the least. Arizona State is not a bad team. Their record isn't really reflective of how tough they can play. But I imagine UCLA can be at least Arizona State. They're going to need some help regarding Colorado, as this Sunday Colorado has Stanford at home, and then Colorado closes out the regular season with matchups against Oregon and Oregon State. Now, the Oregon matchup, like I said, it's a crucial matchup for Colorado, so UCLA better be hoping that Oregon beats Colorado. And then Colorado gets pretty much bitten by the bad luck bug. And UCLA's got to win out for the most part. I mean, I don't see them beating Arizona, and beating Washington State's going to be a tough one just because they have aspirations of having the top seed of the Pac-12 and possibly improving their seed of the NCAA tournament. And speaking of Washington State, that's a perfect segue to go into USC's other matchup this week where they took on Washington State. Now, looking at this matchup, I thought, well, USC's not going to win this one, right? Well, yes and no. USC actually had their chances to win. They actually led for the most part until the later portions of the second half where Washington State finally broke through. They were down 69-68, and then they took the lead at 70-69, and they just never looked back from there as they only held USC to 3 points after that while scoring 5 more points in the process. So I knew Washington State was going to get the win, but I will just say USC had no business being in that game. And I'm sorry, this may sound a little harsh, but I kind of expected a DJ Rodman revenge game from USC. I really want DJ Rodman, Dennis Rodman Jr., to step up and basically go at Washington State. I really want a revenge game for DJ Rodman. I'm just saying, he had 8 points, which isn't bad. He also made a 3 and had 5 boards. I mean, Dennis Rodman didn't put up monster numbers like Isaiah Collier did. He had 24 points. Kobe Johnson had 11 points. And off the bench, Vincent Uchuku had 11 points as well. Well, the sad thing about USC is that they actually shot over 50% from the field. They shot a little under 52%. The other sad thing is that they only made 2 3-pointers. 2 3-pointers. But they only jacked up 10, so yeah. Meanwhile, Washington State, they made 10 3-pointers. And they shot 50% from the field. So all in all for USC, that's kind of what best describes their season. They pretty much are close, but no cigar. So for SC, it just keeps getting worse for them. As just like UCLA, they got to win the Pac-12 tournament if they want to have any sort of hope of making the NCAA tournament. Their last 3 games are Washington at Washington, and then they're on the road, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, they are. No, they're at home against Arizona State and Arizona. Oof, God, they have all 3. Their last 2 games are on national television, being ESPN against Arizona and then FS1 against Arizona State. Oh, God. What was ESPN thinking putting Arizona versus USC on national TV? They can't just flex that out and actually put something better that people are going to watch? Like, come on. I guess that's the price everyone pays, I guess. USC is still bad in the Pac-12. They are 5-12. That is unacceptable by any and all terms. I just feel sick regarding USC as USC closes out the week this Saturday at Washington, and then, like I said, they host the Arizona schools, Arizona State on Thursday at 8 p.m., and then Saturday against number 6 Arizona at 7 p.m. Basically, for USC and UCLA, they're speed bumps regarding Arizona's path to the top seed in terms of the Pac-12 tournament. So we'll see what happens with them, with Arizona as well as not Arizona, but Washington State and Arizona, because Washington State only has UCLA, and then they close out against Washington, and then they don't play a Saturday match. They're just going to be if Washington State does win out, then they get the top seed. But if UCLA or Washington play spoiler to the Cougars, then long story short, they're going to have to bank on USC or UCLA to beat Arizona, which is a tall task, because both those teams lost to Arizona the first go-around. All right, but yeah, it's tough times for USC and UCLA, and it's basically just going to be win or go home, literally, in the Pac-12 tournament. All right, but that's enough about the USC and UCLA men's basketball teams. Jumping over to some Big West men's basketball action. So UC San Diego and UC Irvine are basically your top two in terms of the Big West. UC Irvine is the top dog, as unfortunately for UC San Diego, they took a tough loss to Bakersfield last night, 70-57. Now, that is a bad loss just because their last game before the Bakersfield loss, they actually beat UC Irvine at Lion Tree Arena 92-88 in overtime. And they actually made a game-tying 3 to send the game into overtime, and they wound up winning the overtime period by 4. And what's even more interesting is that UC San Diego's Bryce Pope had 32 points. So he had that monster game, but it was all nullified because UC San Diego can't win on the road. It's cruel and mean, but it's the truth. They basically just spoon-fed UC Irvine a chance to possibly, hence the word possibly, win the regular season Big West Conference title. But UC Irvine has a little bit of a ways to go. They got Long Beach State this Saturday, which Long Beach State is not going to be an easy opponent by any means. Long Beach State's last 2 games have resulted in losses. They lost to Cal State Fullerton yesterday, 76-71, and yeah, Long Beach State in that matchup, long story short, they just got off to a slow start, and they just could not put the ball in the hoop. And then last Saturday, they lost to Hawaii on the road, 73-65. Now, Hawaii's such a tough place to win at. I can't blame Long Beach State for losing that matchup, but still, they're now, after winning like 5 in a row, they've now cooled off and lost 2 in a row. The good news for them is that they've clinched a spot in the Big West Conference Tournament, and they're still a game and a half ahead of CSUN, which is nipping on their feet for the possibility of a first-round bye. Yeah? That's the good news. The bad news is Long Beach State's final 3 games are so brutal. You got UC Irvine it's at UC Irvine on Saturday, which, oh my God, it's so big. This game is so big for Long Beach State, it's actually being televised on ESPN2. If you can believe that. Oh, that's amazing. That's pretty cool, though. It's going to be televised on ESPN2. When does the Big West Conference get nationally televised games? Well, thank you to ESPN for actually giving love to the Big West. But back to Long Beach State's remaining schedule. In addition to playing UC Irvine, they got UC Santa Barbara at home next Thursday, and then next Saturday they close out the regular season against UC Davis. Now Davis, they're in an interesting situation because they're only 2 back of UC Irvine for that top spot in the Big West Conference Tournament. And we all know UC San Diego is ineligible to partake in the Big West Conference Tournament and the NCAA Tournament just because they're still in the transition period from Division I up to Division II. Well, Division II up to Division I, but you get what I mean. So Long Beach State has a brutal schedule to end the season. And then Northridge has UC San Diego this Saturday and then Hawaii on Wednesday. And it's going to be quite the fascinating matchup. The UC San Diego one is home while the Hawaii matchup is away. And for CSUN, they still have a chance for that 5 seed, but they're going to need some help along the way, and they're going to need to do their part. And then UC Santa Barbara is not too far back from Long Beach State in that 4 seed, as they've got Fullerton at Fullerton this Saturday, and then, like I said, they play at Long Beach State on Thursday, and then Santa Barbara closes off the regular season, the regular season schedule on Saturday against UC Riverside at home. So there you have it right there regarding some scenarios for the postseason tournament, not the postseason tournament, but the Big West Conference tournament. All right, well, that's that for some Big West Conference men's hoops. It's a fun race, honestly, and UC San Diego, even if they're not eligible for the Big West Conference tournament, winning the Big West Conference would be such a big feather in their cap, just because it shows that they belong in Division I. Now, in the event where UC San Diego does finish as regular season champions, UC Irvine gets the top seed because they'd be second in line. It does suck. I do hate the transition rule from Division II to Division I. The same thing happened with CBU's women's basketball team. If not, it was kind of their same conference. But regardless, CBU and CBU men's and women's hoops are still proving they belong in Division I, and same with UC San Diego. Speaking of the Lancers of CBU, they actually had a matchup this past week as they're not as good as their women's team. I'm just going to say that right there. I know that sounds cruel and mean. Y'all are going to probably blast me, but it's the truth. Their men's basketball team isn't as good as their women's basketball team. I don't like saying that, but it's the truth. Deal with it. So yesterday they lost to Stephan F. Austin, 62-60, and then last Saturday they lost 85-65 against Tarleton State. I hope that Stephan F. Austin matchup wasn't their homecoming. I don't even know if and when they've had their homecoming. I would hope it's this Saturday, because if that's not their homecoming, then they're not going to have a homecoming. They should not have their homecoming against Grand Canyon. Let me tell you that. Because Grand Canyon is just eating teams for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. They got maybe they've already had their homecoming, and I'm just lazy and I don't want to look it up. But I digress. Anyway, so CBU is 8th in the WAC conference, or the Western Athletic Conference. So, yeah, CBU men's hoops is just not as great as the women's team, but I digress. All right, that's that for CBU. Jumping over to the West Coast Conference. So, as we all know, the misfits of the conference are UC San Diego, LMU, and Pepperdine, or the SoCal teams. And they're all pretty bad. But honestly, there actually was a matchup where, I don't know, LMU and not UC San Diego, San Diego, or USD, faced one another. So, on Thursday, LMU took down San Diego. So this was yesterday, mind you. LMU just stomped all over San Diego, 96-62. And it didn't get worse. It didn't get any better for San Diego, just because they lost to St. Mary's on Saturday, 88-62. So 62 seems to be the magic number for San Diego, because they just can't seem to score anything past that, or they just can't seem to play no dang defense. San Diego closes off the regular season on Saturday against Pacific. The West Coast Conference tournament is a little bit more, I wouldn't say it's complicated, but it's longer than it needs. It's longer than most tournaments. Meanwhile, LMU closes off its regular season against Portland this Saturday, and then we have little old Pepperdine. So San Diego is probably going to be the 5th seed unless LMU Portland should be easy pickings for LMU. So if for some reason San Diego doesn't win, which, looking at San Diego's matchup against Pacific at a glance, they should win that. Let's say San Diego somehow loses to Pacific. And if we do, we'll all laugh at San Diego. But you also have to remember this. Pacific has not won a conference game this season, and they are a whopping 1-12 on the road. 1-12 on the road. Their only win came at the hands of Cal, or their only road win came at the hands of Cal, which doesn't really say much about them. Just shows that Cal is no better. Anyway, so San Diego should be able to beat Pacific, and by doing so, they'd lock up the 5 seed, which I guess isn't bad, but they'd still have to go up against St. Mary's, which, even if they somehow win past Santa Clara, which I don't think they will, I think St. Mary's is going to roll past San Diego like a burrito. And then LMU and Pepperdine, don't even get me started on LMU and Pepperdine. Pepperdine has already concluded their regular season, thank the heavens, as last night they got whooped by St. Mary's 83-57. By losing to St. Mary's has locked up the number 1 seed in the West Coast Conference, and they've locked up the regular season crown. So good job to St. Mary's, I guess, even though I don't care about them. So Pepperdine pretty much is awaiting who they're going to be facing in the tournament. I imagine it's probably going to be Portland, and then LMU is going to be playing Pacific, which shouldn't be that difficult. If LMU finds some way to lose to Pacific, or San Diego finds a way to lose to Pacific, Dum-Dum of the Week automatically. Alright, but that's that for the West Coast Conference right there. Jumping over to San Diego State men's basketball. Alright, so the Aztecs their last matchup, they actually beat San Jose State, but it wasn't pretty. They only won 72-64 at home at Viejas Arena. I guess small victories are victories quite the same, but still, they could have won by a little bit more. Now, their last Saturday's matchup, they actually stomped all over Fresno State, 73-41. So they must have just put themselves in cruise control when playing San Jose State. But now San Diego State has a big gauntlet to close out the regular season. Tuesday, they are hitting the road to Sin City to take on UNLV, and then next Friday, San Diego State closes off the regular season against Boise State. They still have a chance for that top seed in the Mountain West Conference, but it's being occupied by Utah State and Boise State. Now, Boise State, they have 3 games remaining. They've got New Mexico tomorrow, they have Nevada at home on Tuesday, and then they're at San Diego State on Friday. So New Mexico's kind of going to need to do San Diego State a solid. And obviously San Diego State has to take care of their business because UNLV is only 1 game back of that top spot in the Mountain West Conference. That just goes to show how crazy the Mountain West Conference is. And then Utah State, oh God. Utah State almost lost to Fresno State. Oh, the laughs that could have been on Tuesday. But unfortunately, they just had to pull out the win. They just had to pull out the win in overtime against Fresno State. Gosh dang it, Fresno State. Couldn't win that one. You couldn't do your... I wouldn't be surprised if Fresno State basically just threw that game just because they said, you know what, we're not going to help San Diego State. You can have this win, Utah State. I'm just kidding. That's not how basketball goes. So, as I've pretty much said in past shows, Utah State's path to the top seed in the Mountain West Conference is such a clear one. They've got Air Force tonight, which they're 9-18, and if I recall correctly, they're second to last in the Mountain West Conference. And then Wednesday, they've got San Jose State. Those two are the worst teams in the Mountain West Conference record-wise. So Utah State's looking at 2 wins right there. Utah State's last game of the season is against New Mexico, which, if New Mexico wants to have any shot of being the top seed or improving its seeding in the Mountain West Conference tournament, they're going to need to win out. But San Diego State can't afford to, because San Diego State needs to win out in order to have that top seed in the Mountain West Conference tournament. Because if winning the Mountain West Conference tournament goes through Viejas Arena, then so be it. Then that would be a feather in the cap of San Diego State. But San Diego State should still get the tournament regardless. I'll have to do some bracketology regarding the Aztecs, but honestly, I'm confident that San Diego State will make a return trip to the NCAA tournament, and hopefully they can have another deep run like they did last year. I still can't believe they made it all the way to the national championship. It's just sad that they had to lose to gosh dang UConn. I officially hate UConn because of that. I'm sorry, I hate to use the word hate, but hate, double hate, loathe extremely, or extremely loathe. If you get that reference, then you get a cookie. Alright, but that's that for NCAA men's basketball. Now that I'm going to stop referencing movies, let's jump to some women's hoops. Alright, so USC and UCLA. Oh, good golly. The fact that USC needed 2 overtimes to beat Arizona is crazy if you ask me. I don't get how USC... Okay, USC almost lost this one. Lost to Arizona on the road. Now, here's the thing about USC. They're kind of that off and on team where they can sometimes beat a world beater like Stanford and Utah and UCLA, but then they'll lose to... Actually, no, I think they lost to Utah twice. You know what I mean. They could be a world beater by beating the likes of Ohio State and UCLA and Stanford and Oregon State, but they could also lose to a team that they're not supposed to, like a Washington or an Arizona. That was almost the case. Now, if if you all have been paying attention to NCAA women's basketball, Arizona did recently beat Stanford, which I found really impressive. And that basically gave me some hope for Arizona, well, not Arizona, for USC to possibly be the top seed in the Pac-12 tournament. USC did beat Arizona in double overtime, 95-93. Oh, God. That's got to be brutal if you ask me. Which, thankfully for USC, they had Rhea Marshall come to their aid, which, if it weren't for Rhea Marshall, Arizona wins this one easily. Because here's the thing about USC. They can't just have Juju Watkins carrying the load every single night. Rhea Marshall had 26 points. She actually led USC in terms of points, and she had 11 boards. Like I said, without Rhea Marshall, USC does not win this game, because Juju Watkins had 20 points, and she only had 8 boards. And I think she fouled out, so that was another reason why USC needed Rhea Marshall. And then they also had Caitlin Davis chipping in 16 points, and Kayla Padilla added 15 points for USC. So thankfully, and Mackenzie Forbes added 9 points for USC as well. So thank goodness USC was able to find a way to win, just because you can't lose to Arizona. You just can't. Otherwise, your seeding is going to take a massive hit. And USC and UCLA are both 2 games back of Stanford. However, Stanford unfortunately won last night. They beat Oregon State 67-63. So Stanford is the outright Pac-12 Conference regular season champion. But honestly, let's be real. Stanford was not going to lose to Oregon. So USC closed off its regular season on the road against Arizona State, which they should win that one. I think they got to use that game as motivation, just because, if I recall correctly, Arizona State was the team that bounced USC from the first round of the Pac-12 tournament. But looking at it, USC, I think they should have a bye. So, because they have the tiebreaker over Oregon State. I'm not sure about Colorado, and I know they lost twice to Utah, which is completely icky if you ask me. Yeah, they lost to Utah, which they lost to them at Galen Center. Oh, God. That's kind of the domain for USC. I'm surprised they lost to them, but no, well. So if USC does win, hopefully, then they will have a first-round bye. I'm not sure how they're going to figure out the tiebreaker between UCLA and USC. I imagine it's probably going to boil down to like head-to-head in terms of points, which UCLA has that category locked up. And speaking of the Bruins, they just stomped all over Arizona State last night, 70-41, as they close off the regular season against Arizona. Now, Arizona is upset-minded. They want to pull off an upset, and honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if UCLA had a little bit of a trap game before they go into the Pac-12 tournament. And Arizona's hungry for a win, but UCLA, they need to win in order to secure a bye in the Pac-12 tournament. Same could be said for USC. USC just can't take Arizona State for granted, and they have to make sure they just don't bank on Juju Watkins. And then for UCLA, we could be seeing UCLA versus USC in the Pac-12 tournament. That's going to be fun. That's when all bets are off. And then USC has beaten Stanford, but I don't know if Lightning's going to strike twice. You got to remember that Juju Watkins, I think, went off for 50 that game. She literally drug USC to the finish line, but I digress. So that's pretty much that for USC and UCLA in women's hoops. Patty Bax pops into the chat room. She says, "Hi guys, working but listening. Sorry I'm late." It's no worries, Patty. Thank you for tuning in as always. All right, jumping over to some Big West Conference action. So for the Big West, leading the conference is Hawaii, but by 1 game, which is a little inconvenient as Hawaii has UC Riverside, Northridge, and Bakersfield to close off the regular season. So outside of UC Riverside, Hawaii's got a very good path to winning the regular season Big West Conference title, which would be such a big kick in the bum. for UC Irvine, which is second in the conference. Now, UC Irvine, they still have a chance to win, but they got to win out, as they'd have to beat Long Beach State, Cal Poly, and Fullerton. Now, Cal Poly is going to be a tough one, as Cal Poly is still in the top 4 in the Big West Conference tournament. So we'll see what happens regarding the Mustangs as well as UC Irvine. UC Riverside is also third, so who knows? Maybe UC Riverside can pull off the upset against Hawaii, but Hawaii is a tough customer. Like I said, it's so tough to win at Hawaii. Simplify Arena, a.k.a. Stan Sheriff Center, is just a very tough place to play because Hawaii's fans show up. Let me just get that out of the way right there and then. So time will tell what happens with UC Irvine because they're at Long Beach State. And then they close off, like I said, the regular season against Cal Poly and Cal State Fullerton. They've got Cal Poly on the road on Thursday, and then they are back at home against Cal State Fullerton. Irvine has the tougher final 3 games than Hawaii does. Let's get that out of the way right there. Well, not really. I mean, Long Beach State is not the team that they were last year. And Fullerton is pretty bad. But Hawaii, they're just kicking butt and taking names. And they've got 2 of the worst teams in the conference. So we'll see what happens with UC Irvine and Hawaii. But right now, I anticipate Hawaii having the number 1 seed in the Big West Conference tournament. So there's that right there. Now we got to go to the misfits of the West Coast Conference, a.k.a. the SoCal teams from the West Coast Conference. Pepperdine, San Diego, and LMU are all lumped together for the last 3 teams in the conference, which is very sad, as Santa Clara just thumped LMU Thursday, 86-45, but LMU did manage to pull off a nice win over Pacific, 80-71 at home. But LMU is tied for St. Mary's in terms of 6th place, as LMU closes off the regular season against Portland. That's going to be a little tough of a matchup, but it is what it is. Meanwhile, for San Diego, they close off the regular season against San Francisco, as San Diego lost to Pacific yesterday, 82-62. But they beat St. Mary's 69-52. So a nice win for the Toreros. And then Pepperdine, they lost to Gonzaga in big-time fashion last Saturday, 75-41. That was their last game before tomorrow, as they close off their regular season against St. Mary's. So there you have it with those 3 teams. It's just pretty bad, if you ask me. Let's just move on and talk about something nice. Anyway, jumping over to CBU women's hoops. All right, so CBU, when it comes to them, they seem to love going down to the wire when it comes to some of these teams. And I will just say, they had another down the wire game against Stephan F. Austin, where they just barely beat Stephan F. Austin 100-96. Yeah, they needed Ralph Lawler's Law in order to win, because in the 4th quarter, they allowed Stephan F. Austin to outscore them 26-18. And that's the thing about CBU. They actually have to learn to close out their opponents. I get it, the WAC conference is not for the faint of heart, but I will just say CBU has a chance to basically be the top seed. But they're still half a game back of GCU, as GCU plays Stephan F. Austin on Saturday. If Stephan F. Austin can do CBU a solid and beat Grand Canyon, that would be awesome. As CBU plays UT Rio Grande at UT Rio Grande Saturday. And then CBU returns home for its last regular season game against UT Arlington. And then next Saturday, CBU has the big one. They're hitting the road to the Cactus State to take on Grand Canyon in a rematch for what could be the crown of the WAC regular season title. So there you have it right there when it comes to CBU women's hoops. For Grand Canyon, they play this Saturday, like I said, against Stephan F. Austin. Then they have a bye on Thursday. So they still have not taken their second bye, which is annoying because CBU is still half a game back of GCU. Sorry, I had to crack my back a little. But CBU, if I had to guess, I would say their next 2 games should be winnable. One, they have UT Arlington is facing CBU at CBU, which the Lancers should be able to take down UT Arlington. Although UT Arlington is in the middle of the pack, which is a little concerning, and if I recall correctly, UT Arlington is one of the teams that beat, it wasn't them, it was Utah Valley. UT Arlington almost beat CBU on the road, but we'll see what happens when it comes to CBU facing UT Arlington in CBU's neck of the woods. I keep forgetting that it's Abilene Christian and Utah Valley that beat CBU. In overtime, mind you. At least CBU managed to beat an opponent in overtime. But the focus is now UT Rio Grande. The Lancers have to take down UT Rio Grande. Then they can focus on Then they can focus on UT Arlington, which they should win at home. And then they can focus on Grand Canyon. That should be on national TV, aka ESPN or ESPN Plus, or not ESPN Plus, ESPN2. I mean, it's on ESPN Plus, but it's just not the same. So there's that for CBU women's hoops. They're probably, if it weren't for like I've mentioned in past shows, if it weren't for USC and UCLA being the juggernauts in women's basketball, I would just say CBU could probably land more recruits from all over everywhere. And then San Diego State, they did not have a good week this week. Well, they lost to New Mexico on Wednesday by 3, which is very saddening. But they did manage to beat Air Force last week, which they didn't have a Saturday game. So they had a week off, but it looks like they had more rust than rest, as the road trip also didn't do them much good. So San Diego State is back in action on Saturday when they hit the road to Sin City to take on number 24 UNLV. Oh boy, that's a tough one right there. UNLV is a good program, a good women's basketball program. And then they close off this regular season at home at Viejas Arena against Wyoming. Looking at SDSU women's hoops in the Mountain West Conference standings, they are 2 back of New Mexico, and they're 1 back of Boise State and Wyoming. So it's going to be tough for San Diego State to basically have a chance at a 2 or 3 seed in the Mountain West Conference tournament. And UNLV did suffer a loss in the Mountain West Conference play, as they lost to New Mexico. Only by 3 points, though. So there you have it right there. And UNLV avenged that loss, beating New Mexico by 6. So we'll see what happens with San Diego State women's hoops. But right now, I'm not holding my breath for them to winning the Mountain West Conference. All right, but that's that for some college basketball regarding regarding all of SoCal. I actually do have some news regarding a college men's basketball team, as Cal Poly's men's basketball team is moving on from their head coach, John Smith, as he'll coach out the last few games of Cal Poly's men's basketball season, and then after that, after the season's done, John Smith goes bye-bye. Unfortunately, this has been anything but a spectacular season for Cal Poly, as they are 4-25. 4-25. But it gets so much worse. They're 0-14 on the road. It gets even worse. They're 0-17 in conference play. So I really feel bad for Cal Poly, but unfortunately that is the case for them, as I don't want to say it's a coach's fault, but Cal Poly, unfortunately, they need a makeover. But it is what it is, and it's a business sometimes. So I wish nothing but the best for John Smith, and hopefully he does land back on his feet. So that's that right there, as I saw that news right before I went live. It was about 13 minutes before I went live, and I'm like, oh, I get to talk about this just because I finally get to break this news on the show without having to basically say, oh my gosh. Of course, this news comes after the show. And speaking of news before, yes, Patty, the Cal Poly record is pretty bad, which Cal Poly has seen better days. I remember one year they went to the NCAA tournament, but they just got bounced by, I think, the number 1 overall seed. Regardless, it's tough times for certain teams. Sometimes teams just have that bad season, and it's just they're in a rebuilding year and whatnot. So I wish John Smith the best. But speaking of news that I didn't get to talk about last week, not Allen Robinson, but DeMarcus Robinson has re-signed with the Los Angeles Rams, which is awesome. I'm so happy that the Rams got to retain DeMarcus Robinson. Now, DeMarcus Robinson actually was really good, if you ask me, for the Rams. He was actually the Batman to... Well, he was somewhat the third banana to Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp, as the Rams signed DeMarcus Robinson to a one-year deal worth $5 million, and he did have a productive season, according to Ian Rappaport. So I think this is great news for the Rams. They get their wide receiver 3, and if Cooper Kupp stays healthy, then Cooper Kupp wide receiver 1, Puka Nacua wide receiver 2, or vice versa, and then DeMarcus Robinson wide receiver 3. I think it's going to be a very scary thing to see if you're opposing cornerbacks and safeties and whatnot. So I'm looking forward to seeing what the Rams could do next year. It's just all about keeping everyone healthy and keeping Matthew Stafford protected, just because obviously losing, I forget the other guy's name that they just lost, but it is what it is at this point, just because, well, unfortunately that's just how it is when it comes to the Los Angeles Rams. But c'est la vie, I guess. So I forgot to talk about that news, and again, seeing DeMarcus Robinson back with the Rams is just amazing, and I'm really happy that the Rams were able to retain him. And a $5 million deal for 1 year is not bad. I maybe would have signed him for maybe 2 years, but it is what it is. So it's great to see when it comes to Rams news. But if I'm the Rams, I would draft either a corner. I still would basically draft a cornerback or a offensive lineman in the first round. I don't know if they're going to be trading up. If they trade up, then so be it. But if they don't, then well. So yeah, that's basically. I forgot to basically make note of that. They also tendered the exclusive rights to Ronnie Rivers, who was kind of their running back too, which is cool. I like it. So there is that right there, and I already mentioned that Sean McVay is now part of the competition member committee, which is nice and all. And Brian Allen, the Rams releasing Brian Allen, I still think is a tough one for them, so it makes me wonder if they're actually going to go offensive line in the first round. It's either offensive line or cornerback. You just can't, or maybe, I don't know if they should go edge rusher, but honestly, they don't really need more offense. They have their running back in Kyron Williams. They have their wide receiver trio. Tyler Higbee, I imagine, will come back, though, tearing his ACL because of that egregious hit from, I think it was Kirby Joseph in the wild card round. That was brutal right there. So, I hope Tyler Higbee can heal back in time. And who knows, maybe Gerald Everett gets let go from the Chargers, and then Gerald Everett comes home to, well, I say the word comes home, but he comes home to the Rams, just because the Rams and the Chargers share SoFi. But I digress. All right, but that's that for that little LA Rams news I kind of forgot to mention, but it is what it is. All right, let's take ourselves a quick little commercial break. When we come back, we got some MLS to discuss. We have ourselves some NHL to discuss. We have the NBA to discuss and a little MLB, and then we've got the Dum Dum of the Week. Keep it locked here. You are listening to the SoCal Supreme Sports Show here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. We'll be right back after this.
What's up, sports fans? You're listening to IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. I'm your favorite West Coast Wisconsinite, Bernie Bango, and if you're a cheesehead, come listen to my show, Big Cheese Sports, where we road trip around America's Dairyland, previewing, reviewing, predicting, debating, and digging into all that is Wisconsin sports at the college and pro levels. Join me on IE Sports Radio, Sundays at 1 p.m. Central Standard. Bernie out.
What's good, everyone? It's Drewski, the host of Heart of Texas Sports on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. On this station, we cover everything in the Dallas-Fort Worth, Texas area. From where we cover the Dallas Cowboys, the Dallas Stars, Dallas Mavericks, Dallas Wings, Texas Rangers, TCU, SMU, we cover it all right here every Wednesdays from 9 to 10 p.m. Central Time. Make sure you stay live with me on the Heart of Texas Sports on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hey there, sports fans. Are you looking for a sports show that maybe isn't 100% about sports?
Then you might want to check out the Sports Couple Perspectives right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Most sports shows cover only scores and stats, and while we're not opposed to that, we dig a little deeper into sports issues and some of the hottest topics in athletics.
In addition to sports, we take a journey through my neck of the woods, pop culture, with movie reviews of both sports and non-sports films.
Speaking of pop culture, make sure to participate in our game nights, where we quiz each other on our specialties, and you, the listeners, can win IE Sports Radio apparel.
We always have a great time learning more about each other's worlds, one show at a time.
So join us each week on the Sports Couple Perspectives, right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hey sports fans, do you like wine? Well, we've got the show for you. This is Let's Wine About Sports, a show where we talk about wine and sports simultaneously. From the classic Cabernet Sauvignon all the way down to the grapes that you've never even heard of before. Oh yeah, we cover it all. And we'll talk about a little bit of sports as well. Football, hockey, collegiate, women's sports, it doesn't matter. We're going to talk about it all, and we're going to whine about it all. So join me Monday at 8 p.m. on IU Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Back with segment number 2 of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. Definitely check out all of our amazing shows, especially Let's Whine About DMV Sports, which is going to be on later on today at 6 p.m. Pacific Time, 9 p.m. Eastern. You definitely want to check that out, and hopefully Mike Pat is feeling better. I do want to give my condolences to him, as he was feeling a little bit under the weather last week, and I'm hoping he's 100% now, because I do want to hear about DMV sports and wine and whatnot. So here's hoping Mike Pat is better. But second half of SoCal Supreme Sports Show is underway. Let's talk a little MLS. So the MLS just got underway as LAFC and the LA Galaxy kicked off their seasons last weekend, as LAFC managed to take down the Seattle Sounders 2-1. I think that is a very underrated rivalry right there, especially since LAFC actually played Seattle in the playoffs, where LAFC managed to take down the Sounders 1-0 in the second round of the playoffs. So in this matchup, LAFC managed to get a goal right before halftime, as Timothy Tillman scored to give LAFC a 1-0 lead at halftime. Then in the 55th minute, we had Matsus Bogus, who scored a goal in the 55th minute. So LAFC was up 2-0. It was looking really good for LAFC until the 73rd minute, where Seattle kicked in a penalty shot in the 73rd minute by Pedro de la Vega. So, but thankfully LAFC was able to not allow a goal the rest of the way. So good job to LAFC. Their Western Conference defense starts off with a very good win over Seattle. So they are back in action tomorrow when they hit the road to Utah to take on Real Salt Lake. Now, Real Salt Lake just lost their first match of the season, they tied with St. Louis last Saturday, and then they actually had the honor of kicking off the MLS by losing to Miami 2-0. I say that in such a cruel way, but I digress. Alright, but that's that for LAFC. And then, going over to the LA Galaxy, alright. This was rather fascinating, if you ask me. So, the Galaxy took on Inter Miami at CF, and it was actually quite the chess match. Neither team knocked in a goal. Both their goalies were doing all that they can. Lionel Messi was basically doing everything they can to get Miami on the board. He was either going barely wide right, or his shots were just getting saved, which, yeah, go figure. Galaxy actually have a goalie. Woohoo! But the Galaxy actually managed to score the first goal, as Dejan Hovlicic, as he scored in the 75th minute, and the Galaxy were up 1-0. After looking at VAR and basically instant replay, the Galaxy's goal was upheld, and they were up 1-0. Yay! So everything was looking hunky-dory, right, for the Galaxy, right? No. Everything kind of took a turn for the worse, as 12 minutes after that first goal, one of the Galaxy players, Marquis Delgado, got hit with the red card, which, I don't know if you just heard that, but that was just me facepalming. Every time the Galaxy have something good go good for them, it basically gets nullified by something stupid. And unfortunately, they played with the man down, as Miami managed to knock in a goal 2 minutes into extra time, as, you guessed it, Lionel Messi kicked in that equalizer to basically tie this one at 1-1, and that was the final score. Yeah. No one told the Galaxy that extra time was being played, was it? Didn't they? No. This could have been such a great win for the Galaxy. They could have beaten Miami. They could have shut up Lionel Messi. Nothing against Lionel Messi, but they could have shut him up. This was played in Los Angeles. They were playing at the former StubHub Center, aka Dignity Health Sports Park. I'll forever reference it as StubHub Center, but I digress. But no, the Galaxy decided, let's allow them to knock in a goal because we're nice and generous like that. Freaking A, Galaxy. Just freaking A, dude. As the Galaxy are back in action tomorrow when they hit the road to Northern California to take on San Jose, the San Jose Quakes. So San Jose, there's actually some news regarding San Jose, and it actually kind of fits the criteria for a former LAFC player. They actually signed Carlos Vela, and I don't know if it's officially official, but if they get Carlos Vela, they get a pretty big star right there. However, he's kind of aging, so that's kind of the pros and cons of the San Jose Quakes signing Carlos Vela. I don't know. I highly doubt he'll be available for tomorrow. But if for some weird reason he is, then it was nice knowing you, Galaxy. Congratulations on losing. Okay, I shouldn't say that, but still. I just don't think he'll be eligible to play. Unless he can get to San Jose in an ample amount of time, kind of like how Taylor Swift got to the Super Bowl after she had a concert in Japan. I just don't see Carlos Vela playing against the Galaxy. But I digress. But hey, at least the Galaxy didn't lose. But this was a game that they definitely could have won. They knew where the ball was going to in regards to who's going to be taking that shot for the equalizer. They knew it was going to Lionel Messi. But unfortunately, they didn't get the memo that you have to actually play 90 minutes and extra time in order to get the win. So sadly, the Galaxy missed out on a possible big win. But hey, it could be worse. But it could be better. At least the Galaxy's in the top 8. So Larry B pops in the chat room. He said here, and he said, so something really, really cool. It's Educators Night at the Honda Center tonight as the Ducks play the New Jersey Devils. And he says that Cecilia and I are going, and we get a free hat, and we get to shoot a puck into the net after the game on the ice. Well, that's awesome, Larry, and I hope you have fun there. And honestly, that is really, really amazing. And it is Educators Night. And that's actually going to be perfect segue to go into the NHL. And I hope to all that is holy, the Ducks win. I don't care what it takes. The Ducks have to win because Larry B and Cecilia B are going to be there on Educators Night. And they're going to be shooting a puck into the ice afterward. That is awesome. So have fun tonight, Larry. So Sports Couples Perspective is not going live tonight. But do have fun, Larry and Cecilia, as the Ducks do play the New Jersey Devils tonight at the Honda Center, or as I still refer to it as the Arrowhead Pond. I'm old school. Fight me if you can. Just fight me, please. Anyway, looking at the Ducks, they're still no better than they were when I last talked about them. But they did manage to win against an opponent. Can you believe it? They managed to beat the San Jose Sharks. Yeah, they beat the San Jose Sharks yesterday 6-4. At least they still have consistency regarding beating the Sharks. Can't say about the other opponent that they faced off against, as Sunday they lost to the Nashville Predators 4-2. And then last Saturday, they managed to lose to the LA Kings 3-2 in a shootout. Which means, I don't even remember the last... Their losing streak to the Kings, which has stretched all the way back from last year, if not maybe the year before, is still active. So the Ducks still have no answer for the Kings. And speaking of the Kings, that's actually a perfect segue to go to the Kings, because their next matchup is against the New Jersey Devils on Sunday. And then yesterday, the Kings took down the Vancouver Canucks 5-1. And then Tuesday, the Kings lost to the Calgary Flames 4-2. And then Monday, the Kings lost to the Edmonton Oilers 4-2, which, that's not fun times right there. But the good thing is for the Kings is that they are still locked into that final spot from the Pacific Division. They're actually 7 points ahead of Calgary and Seattle for that final spot. Yeah, they have to deal with Calgary now. So, unless the Kings have a massive collapse like they did back when they still had their previous coach, I think they're still in good shape. Because the Kings are just too good, and they're still getting some wins, which I think is pretty good if you ask me. So next Tuesday, the Kings are back home or will still be at home against the Vancouver Canucks. Thursday, the Kings will host the Ottawa Senators, and then next Saturday, the Kings will host the Dallas Stars. And then after the Ducks' game against the New Jersey Devils, Sunday, the Ducks host the Vancouver Canucks. Wednesday, the Ducks will host the Ottawa Senators, and then next Friday, the Ducks will host the Dallas Stars. So there you have it right there regarding the Anaheim Ducks and the LA Kings. Again, all that matters is that the Ducks win tonight against New Jersey. I don't care if New Jersey has 64 points. I don't care if they're one of the most improved teams. I don't care if New Jersey is a playoff team. I don't care if the Ducks really suck. That was a lot of reallys, and I probably messed up on some of them, but I don't care if the Ducks have the third worst record in the league. They are winning tonight. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. There you go. Thank you for listening to my TED Talk. Let's end the show. I'm just kidding. We're not ending the show right there and there. I'm sorry. I'm just having a little fun. But that's going to do it for the NHL. Jumping over to the NBA. All right. You want to hear a joke? The Clippers. Well, first of all, if you've seen them, they actually rebranded. So they're not trying to copy and paste the Lakers, which is good. Because next year, they will be going into a new gym. They're going to have their own facility. They're no longer going to have to share the Crypto.com arena. I will forever reference it as Staples Center. I don't care, though. They won't have the share gymnasium or the same facility as the Lakers, which is good. As Mike, Pat, and Jen B are both in the chat room, they both said, "Hey, Teran," or "Good evening." Well, good afternoon to you, Mike, because I think it's 4:24 or 4:18 in your time. Sorry, my laptop is 6 minutes faster in real time. I need to change that. Anyway, but yeah, the Clippers. I mean, I wouldn't say their logo sucks. Their new logo sucks, but it could have been so much better. Anyway, so the Lakers, in terms of their season, last Friday, Mike Pat says it's dark enough with the clouds. Okay. I'm probably not taking into consideration daylight savings, but I digress. Anyway, last Friday, the Lakers narrowly escaped against the San Antonio Spurs, 123-118. And then Sunday, the Lakers got whooped by the Suns, 123-113, in a game that they were never really in. They gave up 45 points in the first quarter. 45 in the first quarter. Blech. And then against the Clippers, I don't know how the Lakers won this one, but they did. The Lakers, they beat the Clippers. They beat them 160-112. You want to know what's funny? The Clippers led by 19 going into the fourth quarter, and they led by as many as 21. And then the Lakers erased that deficit as they outscored the Clippers in the fourth quarter, 39-16, beating the Lakers, or as the Lakers beat the Clippers. And you want to know how significant that is? It's very significant because it's been a hot minute since the Lakers have won the season series against the Clippers. It's been over 10 years since the Lakers last won the regular season series against the Clippers. The last time that happened was 2011-2012. Yeah, go figure. And Jan B says, the new logo for the Clippers is very similar to the Lake County Clippers, the Guardian Single A affiliate. Oh, that's interesting. Well, I will have to do a compare and contrast, so I've got some homework after this. And Mike Pat says, boo Lakers, and you know why, LOL. Yes, I do know why. The Lakers, so everyone is probably expecting, well, the Lakers just beat the Clippers. They should have no problem against the Washington Wizards, or as we like to call them, the Washington Lizards. Well, the Lakers didn't get that memo because they actually had such a tough time with the Wizards. I could not believe that the Lakers needed overtime to beat the Wizards. It's really sad. And the Wizards are one of the worst teams in the league, as they actually trailed by as many as 9. but the Lakers were able to come out on top barely. They made the Wizards look like the Washington Bullets, which we all know why that's not going to be they're ever going to be called them. But they allowed 17 threes from the Wizards, and they allowed the Wizards to shoot 51% from the field. Yikes. If it weren't for the Lakers driving at the basket, they probably wouldn't have won this game, because they shot double the free throws that the Wizards shot, and they actually made double the free throws the Wizards shot. So, there you go. And they had 4 fewer turnovers. So, Mike says, currently we are the worst team by record. Thank you very much. Oh, I actually did not know that. I actually did not know that they were the worst team by record. I thought that honor still belonged to the Pistons, but no, it's just by a half game. So, okay, the Washington Wizards are still the worst team are the worst team in the league. Because with the Lakers beating the Wizards have now reached 50 losses. Ouch. And they are now the worst team in the league because of the Lakers beating them. So, sorry, Washington Lizards fans, but it is what it is. All right, so the Lakers are back in action Saturday when they host the Denver Nuggets. LeBron James only needs 8 more points to surpass 40,000 career points, which I think is pretty awesome if you ask me. It's safe to say he's going to get 40,000. And thankfully it's going to be at home, so the Nuggets aren't going to do anything cruel and say, oh, we're not going to stop this game for you. Screw that. And then after that, the Lakers, they actually have a little bit of a gauntlet. I'm now looking at their next few games. They got the Nuggets Saturday. Monday, they host the Oklahoma City Thunder. Wednesday, the Lakers host the Kings. And then next Friday, the Lakers host the Bucks. So at the very least, they're getting home games, which I think is good. And they also play the Minnesota Timberwolves next Sunday. So not this Sunday, but next Sunday, they face the Timberwolves. And then they've also got the Kings after that, then the Warriors, and so on and so forth. They're not going to get a break in terms of level of opponent until they face the Hawks and the 76ers. And it's probably going to be the Hawks. So all in all for the Lakers, they've got such a tough schedule ahead on them. And for the month of March, they're not going to get a break until they face probably the Grizzlies. So I hope for the Lakers' sake they can stay healthy, because they are clinging to that 9th spot in the Western Conference, which would mean at best they'd be getting the 8th seed in terms of the play-in games. So the Lakers are going to need to go on a little bit of a run to end the season. Otherwise, they'll be once again in the little play-in tournament thing, which I find disappointing, because you know why. So as for the Clippers, well, the Clippers, they managed to lose this. Well, they beat the Grizzlies last Friday, 101-95. But last Sunday, they lost to the Sacramento Kings, 123-107. And as I just mentioned, they lost to the Lakers, 116-112, which I get it. In the Clippers' defense, they didn't have Ivica Zubac and Paul George. But also in the defense of the Clippers, you led by as many as 21. You were up 19 going into the fourth quarter. How you whiffed that game is beyond misbelief. I just don't understand. Make it make sense, Clippers. Just make it make sense. Anyway, so the Clippers are back in action tonight when they host the Washington Lizards. I'm sorry to say this, Mike, but I don't think the Lizards are winning this one. Sunday, the Clippers hit the road to the Twin City to take on the Minnesota Timberwolves, and then Monday they head to the land of the Chiefs to take on the Milwaukee Bucks. Wednesday, they are on the road against the Houston Rockets. Well, next Wednesday, they're on the road against the Houston Rockets. And then next Saturday, the Clippers host the Chicago Bulls. So, all in all for the Clippers, that loss to the Lakers kind of hurts them. And it actually is the first time the Clippers have lost back-to-back this season, which is very surprising. I did not expect the Clippers. That was actually a surprising fact. I did not expect the Clippers to have lost back-to-back for the first time this season. That's got to sting, though, if you're the Clippers. But they need Paul George and Ivica Zubac back as soon as possible. At the very least, they're still 4th in the Western Conference, and they're still leading the Pacific Division with an iron fist. But that's kind of irrelevant. What's relevant is that they're 4th in the Western Conference. They're actually 4 games back of the T-Wolves and 2.5 back of the Nuggets. So if I'm the Clippers, I'm partially rooting for the Lakers over the weekend. And I'm hopefully, for the Clippers' sake, taking care of business. And Mike says, no, I take offense. Well, I'm sorry that the Wizards are having such a tough time. Maybe they can get some help from the whole message of, looks like you're having a tough game. Let's see if we can find an opponent easier for you. I'm just kidding, Mike. But that's going to do it for the Clippers. Again, they're still having a good year, a very good year. Again, I still think they're the surprise team of the NBA this year, and the fact that everyone planted them as probably going to finish last in the Pacific Division, I think is pretty spectacular that they're in this position of 4th place and they're the best of the bunch. All right, but that's that for the Clippers. I was going to talk a little MLB, but it's still spring training and we don't really care about it that much. I mean, in all honesty, it means that the season is getting closer by the minute, but it also means that we get to finally see the pain of the Angels. But spring training means nothing in terms of wins and losses. It just means that the season is basically getting closer by the day, and we can't wait to see what happens in terms of the season. So that's that for the MLB. I'm sorry if I have to basically give you that short little synopsis, but it is what it is. All right, now we got to go over Dumb Dumb of the Week. So Dumb Dumb of the Week is basically an award I like to give out regarding who does or says something dumb. Anybody can really get this award, as no one is safe from this award, not even myself. No one is safe from this award. So I only have one in regards to this week, and I will just say we have to circle it back to the NBA. So, you know how the Clippers lost to the Lakers? Well, they obviously blew a 19-point lead going into the fourth quarter, and they blew a 21-point lead altogether. But it gets very, 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 very worse for the Clippers. The Clippers were so bad. They scored 16 points in the fourth quarter. But it gets worse. LeBron James, by himself, outscored the Clippers 19-16. I'm not kidding you. LeBron James, out by himself, outscored the Clippers in the fourth quarter 19-16. Now, I get it. We are all witnesses of greatness from LeBron James. He finished with 34 points altogether. But how do you let that happen, Clippers? First and foremost, the Lakers were coming in so banged up and dinged up that I didn't think that the Lakers were going to win. I just couldn't believe that the Clippers wound up whiffing on this game. It just makes zero sense. I don't know how to expect the Clippers. And basically, I'm not going to play this over the intercom or over the mic, but their loss to the Lakers was so hilarious is that this is actually the last time the Clippers will ever face the Lakers in Crypto.com Arena unless the two meet in the playoffs, which that's probably going to be a little impossible unless the Lakers and Clippers are like the 1 or 2, or the Lakers are the 1 seed, or the Clippers are the 1 seed or 2 seed, and the Lakers are the 7 seed or 8 seed. But how the Clippers lost that is just so painstakingly funny. You blow a 19-point lead going into the fourth quarter, 21-point lead altogether, and you get outscored by one player who is basically defeating Father Time. So I know this is pretty much a cliche dumb-dumb of the week, but Clippers are going to Clipper. I'm sorry, but that's just sad right there. You can't just let someone like that outscore you. And it was a home game. But it was probably overtaken by Lakers fans, as there were quite a bit of Lakers fans, and when LeBron kept hitting 3 after 3 or bucket after bucket, basically we got the cheers from the Lakers fans were louder and louder. And I'm just going to say this, and no offense to Clippers fans, especially Marcellus Wiley and Clipper Darrell. Los Angeles is still a Laker town in terms of the NBA. I'm sorry to say, but yeah. So that'll be the last time the Lakers or the Clippers will be a home team in the Crypto.com arena regarding the rivalry with the Lakers. And like I said, the Lakers won the regular season series against the Clippers for the first time since 2011-2012. You got to be pretty bad to have that happen, Clippers. And I'm sorry to say, but you're Dum Dum of the Week. I'm not giving them Dum Dum of the Week because I'm a Lakers fan. I'm giving them Dum Dum of the Week because they basically lost in that fashion to the Lakers. They Clippered down the stretch when it came to the Lakers. So, sorry Clippers, but you're Dum Dum of the Week, and I have zero regrets on giving you this honor.
You're so dumb. You're so dumb. You are really dumb. For real.
And that, my friends, is all she wrote. And Patty Back says, Marcellus Wiley was a Bill. And he was also a Charger. I remember he had a sack against Tom Brady. So, yeah, I know who Marcellus Wiley is. And he does great things. And I like him. It's just that he had this whole Clip City, Chip City thing. And, Marcellus Wiley. Someone actually played a former clip back when Marcellus Wiley was with ESPN when it came to the whole. I don't remember the show. It wasn't First Take, but I think it was like Sports Nation. I'd have to go back and look, but Marcellus Wiley was on Sports Nation with, I think, Carissa Thompson and Max Kellerman, who Kellerman is still with ESPN and Carissa Thompson is now with the NFL Network, making up things regarding fake stories and fake NFL reports. So, but I digress on that whole thing. I still have a lot of respect for Marcellus Wiley. I still like the guy. It's just that the whole someone bringing back the whole Marcellus Wiley on Sports Nation is just it's just pretty funny if you ask me. And it was Sports Nation. And again, he co-hosted with Carissa Thompson and Max Kellerman, and it was just fun times. I think he also co-hosted with LZ Granderson sometimes, but that's where he got the whole Clip City, Chip City motto. And the only chips that the Clippers are eating are tortilla chips. I'm sorry, but it's the truth. Anyway, that's going to do it for this week's episode of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. Before I keep beating up this dead horse, it's high time that we get on out of here, because I got to get ready to do my thing and possibly head on out to Long Beach State for Long Beach State, Penn State, and men's volleyball. Yeah, dig! Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. I really do appreciate everybody tuning in. If you listen live, I appreciate you. If you listen on the playback, I appreciate you. If you listen at work, I appreciate you. If you listen at any time, any place, anywhere, I appreciate you. Shout out to the chat room, Jen B, Mike Pat, Patty Backs, Larry B, and Ralph Calise. I really do appreciate y'all tuning in. I should be back next week for the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. I'm 99% certain I'll be back for the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. If anything, I will let you all know. I will also be back at my normal time and my normal day for Set Point. Nothing is going to get in my way of having Set Point on Monday at 6 p.m. Pacific time. Nothing will, I promise y'all. So, thank you to everyone that said great show. Patty Backs, Jen B, and Mike Pat. I really do appreciate y'all tuning in. For everyone here at IE Sports Radio, this is Teran Rodriguez signing off. Have yourself a great rest of the weekend. Enjoy the SoCal sports action. Try not to be as bad as UCLA men's basketball is, because if so, then you're doing life wrong. I will see you all on Monday for Set Point, and if you're going to be at Long Beach State, I'll see you all at Long Beach State probably after the first or second set, or midway through the second set. Have a great weekend, and remember, SoCal is for SoCal. Peace!